My name's Chris, and you're...
Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's Biscuit Week.
Wow, we sound so serious. We're here for a serious discussion about serious things like biscuits in their various forms, whether they are like sliced up for your enjoyment or swinging from a chandelier a la Sia. We're here for a serious discussion.
This is all serious. There will be no jokes.
No.
Very serious.
There will be nothing like terms like felching. There will be nothing like terms like docking. It's all serious tonight.
I like that the pre-credit joke, by the way, was Mel referring to Mrs. Internet.
Look, if you're going to refer to, the internet...
Thank you, Mrs. Internet.
Yes, it should be a lady. And apparently it's a married lady.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Internet, was quite a catch. But
did she take his name, or did she, marry Mr. ADSL? And... Although
Mr. Dial-Up.
Mr. Dial-Up. Or is she a widow? Because every time you use dial-up, it's like you're killing a machine. Was that every time you dialed up, was Mrs. Internet killing Mr. Dial-Up?
For the 4 people who still use dial-up, their podcast just died. Because I mentioned before, but that's what I used to do at home when I was really annoyed that someone was on the internet and I was trying to use the phone.
Yeah.
Was I go up and I pick up the phone and squeal down the phone and it stopped the internet. Did work, by the way, guys. For people who don't remember dial-up internet, that makes no sense.
Oh my God, in my dance class tonight, there was a young woman who said, "Oh no, I'm familiar with cassettes. I'm into vintage things."
Oh, yeah.
A little piece of me did not die at all.
So, let's get into it, shall we?
Yes.
So,
speaking of vintage things.
I mean, I don't know where we're going with that. I was about to mention Tom. So,
Sorry, Tom, that's not nice.
Sorry, Tom. Kristie was inadvertently being mean. Because Tom referred to that he really likes eating biscuits, but that making them was trial and error. And that didn't bode well overall.
No, unfortunately. It really sounded like my mum. She's very good at eating biscuits. Not so much good at the baking.
The baking of them, no.
Yeah.
Carmel and Ella both said they were confident, but most importantly...
They did not say,
This is my week. Now, I did have some people during the week, some unnamed bakers, who reached out to clarify a few things in terms of what we might have said during the first episode, just in terms of challenging those sorts of things. So just for new players at home, if they say to you, when you're doing your interview and your bit to camera before the episode, do you feel like this is your week?
Don't take the bait. Walk away. Not today, disco lady.
Do not answer. If you answer that question, you are going to find yourself going home.
Yeah, take a leaf from Ella's book tonight where she said, I'm comfortable. I'm in my comfort zone. They're good. They skirt around it. Says it's humble, but confident, but not too confident. It's humble, confident, confident. You want to be
hombident.
Hombident.
You want to be hombident.
You want to be hombident.
But so you don't want to say that. Now there are a couple of others, and again we'll get into these games for new players, but a bit later on. But for example, last week I mentioned Aaron saying that he was, the quirky one. If they ask you to pigeonhole yourself...
Don't.
Because then they're going to expect it.
Yeah.
And once they expect it of you, then if you don't do it, you're in a bit of trouble.
And particularly when you're not sporting the quirkiest moustache in the shed. Yes.
Yeah, I'm the quirky one. Nurman's there.
Dude obviously uses wax to shape his... I'm sure he's getting out a protractor to measure the angles of the curve of his moustache. It is that...
I know, and that's
beautiful and perfect.
You can't go, I'm the quirky one, and have Nurman there. So you've got to be very careful about that. And it's the same whenever you're talking about, well, I really love using these flavours, or... and we'll talk about it in a minute, poor Tom, who made a lot of statements about this is exactly what this bake is going to resemble.
Yeah.
And then when it didn't, even though they were sort of talking about the flavours were okay, but because he'd sort of sold what it was, I think it hurt him. So let's get into it. Now, the first one is a signature, which was a slice and bake. 12 identical biscuits. You had 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Aaron did say it was not too tricky, which is always a bold statement at the start.
Yes, now, I'm looking at these slice bakes, and I'm thinking, you go and get a roll of cookie dough these days, like we've become Americans in Australia, where you can get a roll of cookie dough that you can slice up and throw in the bloody oven. Why aren't we getting fancy stuff? Like, hello, Ella, you should be selling those poos. Like, just... Like my 9-year-old niece is obsessed. We've just made toilet roll...
She is very...
polyclay charms, and we've got to make matching poo emoji. Now, poo emojis are actually deceptively difficult to get the right shape. I had to watch a bloody thing about it, so like tutorial. So kudos to Ella getting a good poo shape.
So
that didn't look shit.
I wasn't gonna start with her, but we will because we're there now.
Look, we're going to start with defecation.
Junior Bake Off, I believe, did poo emojis.
Did they?
For Biscuit, but they did 3D sort of.
Oh, the rolling.
They did like the whip and everything. So it was a proper 3D model.
Did they then follow up with a
no? They didn't. No. There was a no. So it was whip and no. But no, they actually did like little 3D, like almost cupcake looking cookies.
So they
are different.
Which is what my charm is going to look like when we do our poo charms.
I'm terrified.
When I invite my niece over and we do poos together.
We're going to have a talk about this off podcast. Anyway, I was more concerned about Maggie when she told everyone that they should feel at ease with their biscuits. Now, Maggie, how do you feel at ease with your biscuit? Be one with the biscuit.
Look, it's COVID times. People have been isolating and getting introspective. Obviously, Maggie has set up some kind of meditation biscuit-based area in her home and is becoming one with the biscuit.
I mean...
She's got a biscuit dojo.
It's the new part of Stately Beer Manor.
Why do you think she was auditioning biscuit chandeliers tonight? She wants to fucking deck it out in full biscuit regalia.
Biscuit Dojo is going to have a biscuit chandelier.
Yeah, next week.
So that's the reason for that.
Yeah.
I knew there had to be a reason for it somewhere. Ash also at this point commented that she was intimidated by the other bakers, because if there's one thing I know, it's that I'm scared of them.
Oh, look, it's all that pastel, if I'm presuming Ashley was a goth in her younger days, and it's just like, it's so...
Pre-Navy.
Yeah, pre-Navy, she was a young goth emo girl. She looks quite young, so I'm presuming emo. And she's just like, there is too much pastel in here.
I am not comfortable with this much brightness.
Yeah. Look, I will... Jeez, it's funny. Okay, so we always wander off. So I was on a bus, and I was going to nursing school, and I was about 21, and I decided, because I was goth back then, that I should soften my edge, because I'm going to be a nurse and I don't want people to think that they're going directly to an undertaker. I'd like them to have a bit of confidence. So I did start incorporating colours in amongst my black. Now on the bus,
soften your edge.
I ran into a person that I'm not particularly fond of, who was also in the scene, and I almost pissed myself laughing because it was the most goth thing to say. He just looked at me, gave me this disdainful nod and gone, pastels, really?
I never know. Yeah. I've had to pull back the curtain. I never know where a Kristie story is going. Yeah. There are people, you right? No. I never know where a Kristie story is going. Can I just say, I'm glad I was along for that ride. Because I wasn't sure where we were going, but my word, when we got there.
You were happy with it? It was a payoff?
If you don't think that I'm going to walk around...
Pastels, really?
Exactly. That is coming... You're going to get that all the time.
You have to rhyme that sentence with I'm smelling poop and not the good Ella poop. That's the connotation. Anyway, moving right along, back to poop.
You are so scatologically focused tonight. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's great.
So let's move away. Let's talk about... We're not going to talk about a bake yet, but we are going to talk about the fact that the first thing I noticed in terms of any of the bakers was Blessing's apron.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Now, this is something that I want to make mention of, especially for our overseas listeners, because I know in Canadian, for example, that the aprons are...
they're all uniform. And they've got their name on them, which is really helpful when you're learning everyone in the earlier weeks.
So... Everyone else in the overseas series is all very uniform and with names on them. I have always loved the fact that in Australian Bake Off,
wear whatever the fuck you want.
You wear your own apron, you bring your own aprons, and again, people make like statements with their aprons.
Let's not forget someone like Fee, whose mum made her aprons. I've got one.
We do actually.
It's even got the chocolate stains on it.
We have one of Fee's aprons that her mum made for her.
Yep. What's his facey?
Don.
Sorry, Don.
How could you forget Don and his aprons?
Oh,
we had a song. Our Don's aprons, and I ask you, are they very good? Yes, they are. So, exactly. How can you forget Don and his aprons?
Oh, because I'm all over the place tonight. You know, I'm having flashbacks to being a goth on public transport.
You're stuck with pastels. Anyway, Don's aprons, pastels. Really. So, moving on. Nav was doing... the flag of Afghanistan.
Yep.
And his biscuit. It was a sublay. Which is, of course, the owner of Dunder Mifflin.
Dunder Mifflin is
a part of Sublay. Anyway, deep cut for Office fans there. Yeah. They were almond, saffron, and cardamom. So for the 3 different colours on the flag. I like that they were talking about, again, you've never heard the word short used more in an episode than it was tonight. And I like that was where they said, Carmel said, they need to be short and decorative. Just like me. I'd like to consider myself short but decorative. I store quite nicely on a shelf. So, very fancy in the entryway.
Now I'm picturing you demanding that we build some kind of shelf in the entryway of our house to store you on for when you can greet guests as they walk through.
I've already been working on it. Anyway,
okay, great.
Let's cut to Tom. So, what I do want to start with, and I thought this was... Look, there's a lot that didn't go right for Tom tonight.
I love his concept.
And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the concept because I love the concept. But before we talk about the concept, can I just say that I loved Tom's message where he's like, it's important to keep positive in baking and in life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. And I like the fact that he's got that approach to things. So...
Look, can I just say, he's the CEO of a non-profit. If you don't have some fucking mantra like that to back up on,
exactly.
the shit you have to go through. Sorry, Tom, I work in a non-profit as well. You just have to.
So
yeah.
His idea was a deck of cards. Mm-hmm. Now, it was going to be almond, honey, and lime, and they were going to be dipped in tempered white chocolate and freeze-dried raspberries. Now,
yeah, and you could bet it all on red if you wanted to.
Now, what I didn't quite get about this concept, and to forward promote a little bit, there's a chance that maybe in the next week or so I get to ask Tom this question. Spoiler, is in terms of the concept itself. When did it sort of shift? Because by the time we got to the end of it, They looked like round, just normal round biscuits with the icing on top of it.
We're a little bit hamstrung at the moment in terms of time. Say if this was MasterChef's format, right, where they have the kind of grace to be able to stretch some episodes out longer, depending on what's going on, or shorten them. We've seen that time and time again in MasterChef, and sometimes just too much. But we don't have that. It's a set time limit. The editors have a very set, time frame in which to tell stories, and we have got, 9 stories going on in the shed at the moment. So that's not a lot of time to divvy up between people.
Yeah, still 10 stories at this point.
Do we have 10 stories?
We've got a full cast of bakers.
Oh my god, we do.
We've got a full cast of bakers.
We had 10 stories.
So moving just quickly,
which if you think about it, right, is only 6 minutes per baker, and then you break that down because we've got ad breaks, and then we've got host doing host things and judges doing judge things. Probably 4 minutes per baker.
So I agree with you, but what I am going to say is that from my perspective, the cuts, and again, we completely understand it for time, but in the first challenge, and especially with some of the stuff that probably could have come back in the technical a little bit, the cuts were really fast. In this next bit, they were super fast. It was one word, bake, one word, bake, one word, bake. And there just needed to be... a beat or a breath.
Yeah.
Because it was like 4 in a row, and I looked at you and I just went, is this moving too quickly? Because it felt like they were so cramming things in. Like, for example, we then went to Hoda talking about, baking with love, and then they showed her her Persian biscuits, her taroff, which was saffron and pistachio with vanilla.
Yeah.
And they looked amazing. And then we cut again, and we cut to Jaywin. Now, we didn't need to cut to Jaywin, and I love Jaywin. He's really cool, but we didn't need to cut to Jaywin.
Oh, here we go.
By the way, drinking game fans...
Oh, Jaywin,
drinking
just
game
ignore
fans,
this.
Drinking game fans,
Fans of matcha, just ignore this.
Drinking game fans, I hope you drank, because Jaywin used 2 words that should never be used together. Perfect matcha biscuits. Perfect matcha. There is no such thing as perfect matcha.
Oh my God, people of Earth. Like, if you want to protest, I will give you our address, and you can just send as much matcha as you like. Like, maybe like...
You are really prepared to deal with that?
Like matcha bombs. Like, you know how you can send, like, people that you don't like glitter in... Or people you like, depending.
If they really like glitter.
They really like glitter. In a, like, say, a nice invitation, people were sprinkling glitter in it, and then it gets everywhere, and you have craft herpes in your house. We could just have matcha herpes. What am I saying? Oh my God, Chris, back it up.
I have no idea what you're saying, but anyway, I'll let you go.
Have offered to receive so much matcha, because what would we do with it?
Well, I certainly would be having it, so you're on your own on that one.
Okay.
You know what you are on that one? You're an island. You are an island of matcha. You are an island of matcha.
That's
all
what
on your
I'll do.
own.
I will build a new nation.
All right, so Ella, just to actually go through what the biscuits were, orange chocolate shortbread, and she had normal orange shortbread for the eyes. Now...
Oh, this is the poop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So caramel...
Everyone wants their poop to taste like orange.
You are in fine form tonight. Anyway,
I
caramel.
had to stop myself telling my niece. So my niece decided to put huge amounts of glitter on one of the rolls of toilet paper we made for the charms. And I had to stop myself because she's only 9, and I had to stop myself saying that there's capsules you can take, apparently, that make you poop glitter.
I'm starting to understand what it's like when young people visit the nursing home and they're having a conversation and suddenly one of the older relatives turns around and goes, "My poop's got glitter in it."
Obviously, it's my first dance class back tonight. The endorphins are running. We were learning hoochie coochie moves.
And you had your first dance class, then you had to rush home in time to get to 8:30 to watch Bake Off.
Yes.
It's a busy Thursday night for you.
It's a friggin' busy Thursday night.
It's a crazy busy Thursday night for you. So Carmel mentioned that she needs things really neat, but that was all they gave us. She was, "I need things really neat." Cut. To these Italian spumoni biscuits, which were pistachio, chocolate, and cherry.
Yum.
It's a good flavour combination.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is, if she really needed to come up with the colours of the Italian flag, Lydia and Tom last week, between the two of them, sorted that.
Yeah, it does feel like it's Italian heavy.
It's a very Italian look. My nonna call the other day.
Yeah.
Really good call. Hayden.
Yes.
Now, Hayden decided to go with a conical flask.
Which, okay,
Spoiler alert, it didn't come out like a conical flask because he cut them when it was still the dough was not set properly, and he just sort of squashed it.
Like, they're difficult to draw at the best of times, but when you're trying to sculpt them
In biscuit.
there's a lot going on there. And when I looked
Orange
at it,
dough and a chocolate orange dough.
look, flavour-wise, not a problem. Looks-wise, it did look like a science experiment gone wrong.
Now, what I do want to say is that there's 2 things I really need to say about this bar for Hayden. First thing I need to say about this is that I am going to assume that he has the greatest sourdough starter in the history of mankind.
Oh my fucking God. Yes, when we found out, my first response was Egon Spangler.
And that's the second thing I want to talk about. He's Egon Spangler in disguise.
Yes.
He collects rare spores, molds, and fungus.
Do you think he has multiple sourdough starters and, like, he crossbreeds them and just...
Creates mega.
He's currently trying to create a sentient sourdough starter.
A sourdough starter that will go and make itself.
That builds a statue to him, a la Simpson style.
Oh, dear.
Okay, back at the ranch.
So,
back at the shed.
It was warm, very warm in there to the point where Tom was really worried about the impact on his dough. So everyone was running to the freezer, not the fridge, to let the dough set for a little bit. At that point, we cut to Nurman, and something that we very rarely get to say about the bakers, but normally it's about the hosts. But Nurman, romper game on point.
JFC, like, can we just make rompers like the uniform of the shed? Like, just have a romper day, have a romper week.
You know what it is? It's a romper room.
Oh my god, we can
Blessing to provide Mr. Doobie. Oh my
she
god!
Know who Mr. Doobie is, but she can just make a new one.
For those listening who never saw Romper
Maybe
Room,
it would be
Mr. Doobie is not what he sounds like. It is not a joint. There is no marijuana involved, although there might have been in the creation of Mr. Doobie. It's also, for those people who might be a bit older than that, not a member of the Doobie Brothers. It was literally a puppet of a bee.
Yeah, inside a honeycomb. And I was on Romper Room, so I can give you insiders and fellow diners inside scoops. So you go in and look, it looks exactly like it does on TV. To me, as a 5-year-old child, it looked huge like it does on TV. As an adult, probably a lot smaller. Probably just, like tiny. But as a 5-year-old, fucking huge. It was like being in magic. Now, something you don't know, right, is the magic mirror at the end of Romper Room when Miss Helena or Miss Megan or whichever other fucking miss you had is listing out names, is you were relying on the parents in the green room who wrote a list of people that they knew would be watching. So if you've got a name that's rare, or if you weren't a white Australian and, let's just say, there was not a lot of diversity back on TV back in those days.
No.
People
got upset about a giant dancing cat not wearing pants.
Yes,
anyway,
I know. Even though a bear was doing the same thing.
The cat had pants. The bear didn't. Yeah.
So that's what went on backstage. Just letting you know. So if your name wasn't read out, not your fault. It was just white people being white people.
So anyway, he was making what he called coffee right biscuits, which was a copyright symbol, cinnamon and cardamom, and it's chocolate and Turkish coffee for the C shape. And the more Nurman talks, the more I find myself going...
He's your brother from another mother.
He really is. He likes all the same shit.
You're going to have to get your mustache game on point. Like when
I can't. I'm not that good.
Yeah.
I did like at this point we cut to Aaron doing some gardening. Just out there cutting the lavender. not for flavour, for plating, which I really enjoyed. Now let's talk about Ash, because Ash, of course, is announced that she's a space geek. So I absolutely love her even more for that. Now,
for a brief moment, I did look at him like thinking, oh my god, is she doing like the Rebel Alliance symbol from Star Wars?
Now,
but even better.
It got even better. So... She announced that it was the dark slice of the moon. Now, this was coconut sugar with black sesame and tahini. And that was opposed, of course, to the dark side of the moon biscuits, which leave you comfortably numb. Now, before you get on me, Pink Floyd fans, yes, I know that Comfortably Numb is on the wall. It's not on Dark Side, but... in this case, who knows which is which and who is who? Thank you. That's an us and them reference, and that is on Dark Side of the Moon.
God.
Thank you.
Oh, God. I have to
Thank
Google.
you. You are welcome. You are welcome. Right? No, I can confirm I know for a fact what the albums are. I've got them all.
Look.
So, Us and Them, which is a very early track on Dark Side of the Moon, with the who knows which is which and who is who.
Your knowledge of Pink Floyd eclipses mine.
Oh, well done.
No.
Oh,
Let's
everyone
run
at
away
home,
now.
everyone at home. How I wish you were here. Anyway, moving on. Aaron was doing a checker pattern. And I love that his whole vibe this week was literally chill vibes.
Yeah.
I absolutely was here for it.
Now, like, let's break down the slices, right? So you can construct your slice any way you like. You can. So if we look at Tom's, for example, he was cutting out individual hearts and then smushing them all together and putting them on. Tom, next time, go to like a toy shop, go to the Play-Doh section. You can get extractors.
Yep.
Like you can extrude hearts, which I'm sure is something that Mrs. Internet did to Mr. ADSL.
Extruded his heart.
Yeah.
Completely.
Take this, I'm moving on to broadband.
Copper to my node. Anyway.
So then we, like, you know, we have 3 colours, like, for the flags and the sperm one that Carmel made.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm having a moment. I'm having lots of moments tonight. But the checkerboard, like, to get that pattern so neat, like, that
was beautiful.
It looked simple, and because it looked simple, it was beautifully executed. Like, we've seen bakers try and do Brandenburg. I'm thinking...
Very triumphal arches.
Yeah. We've seen them trying to do Battenberg cakes and how interesting they could come out. Like this.
I now want to see someone make the Brandenburg gate.
Just the orchestra.
This is the gate, not the Brandenburg gate.
Okay.
Yeah, again, could have been done in biscuits. Would it have been a chandelier, though? We'll come to that.
A Brandenburg made out of Battenbergs.
Oh, God. Oh, that's terrifying. And he went with lavender and chamomile with a honey glaze. That was a nice combination of flavours, too. They cut to Blessing, who was making her Zesty Bee shortbread. Now, this was fun because Maggie was talking to Blessing about, you know, how are you coping being away from home? And then Maggie went, so, do you have any music? And Blessing's like, I have a lot of music. And Maggie's like, me too. I can only cope when they're blaring music. And the only thought that I had, I don't think they listen to the same thing.
Oh, bullshit. I reckon both Maggie and Blessing are mad Cardi B fans. Like, you know...
Maggie's all over Kodak. Kodak, you know? Yes, they call me Maggie B. I run this shit like cardio. Anybody convince Maggie B to sing, yes, they call me Maggie B, I run this shit like cardio. I dare you.
She's there in the kitchen. She's like, got my skillet and a mop for this. Now, I'm trying to think of a WAP. That's not wet ass pussy. That sounds like it, but it's a kitchen thing. So if you can think of it, please let us know. Hashtag Maggie's WAP. Moving right along, I'm destroying
National
my husband's brain.
Treasure Maggie B has just been besmirched. Little Margaret Ackerman.
No, a woman's sexuality, no matter her age, over the age of consent, is a beautiful thing and should be, like, you know, not made a taboo subject.
I can see the tunnel and I can see the train. Anyway,
I'm sorry, everyone.
Aaron's waiting pose.
Yeah.
There was very much a butt pop on it, which was fascinating in itself. And I love that you do this, you lean back and you pop your butt.
Yep.
And he's just hovering beautifully. It was fantastic. And then we got the fanning. Now, the main part for me about the fanning was Nurman, who I thought was going to take off at one point. He was like a yacht.
Now, I do like the choice of tea towel over tray with the fans going on. Like, I think...
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot more.
We're
definitely going to get more height because Nurman was flying.
Oh, look, it was like he was trying to like...
If the breeze had picked up a little bit like it did in the second bake, Nurman might have taken off. That was very realistic as a possibility.
You know, he's got his balloon outside. He was probably just prepping some extra...
Up and away, this beautiful, beautiful balloon. Anyway, Aaron in the judging, they said it looked fantastic. The biscuit was slightly soft in the middle, but they said that was only the honey. And once you got past the honey, the snap was still there.
Yeah.
The lavender was very well balanced. Hard flavour to balance.
Yeah.
Ella, they just said exceptional design. It was crisp and there was a really good orange flavour in those. Also, bonus points, Ella, for serving it in a potty.
And... This sounds so disrespectful. I'm just like, you know, is Ella going to walk into the shed today and make Maggie Beer eat shit? Yes, she is.
Of course she is.
Just
Nurman.
yes.
But Maggie was a bit disappointed with the lack of coffee. Looks good though, they said. And the rest of the flavours are really good. Hayden, they couldn't make out what the hell the image was.
Yep.
And the biscuit was soft.
Look, it was a science experiment gone wrong, and you know that happens in science.
Nav, they said the flag looked great. They said the biscuit was very short and it was very crisp.
And you know what I liked about Nav's is like, yep, it was a simple like pattern design, but then he had to royal ice.
That piping was beautiful.
Oh, wonderful.
Tom, they said the shape didn't quite come out. The biscuits were still warm and some of them were undercooked.
Like, it honestly felt like we didn't get the story. We didn't see how Tom went from concept to product.
Because the concept was awesome.
The concept was awesome. Product, there was a lot that happened on the way.
Exactly. And I think,
lot.
And that, again, that's part of what happens when you've got so many bakers left.
Yeah.
Ashley. They said they looked even. And and Maggie even liked the flavours really well. Matt did pick, though, that they were slightly underbaked.
Just
Jaywin?
whack them back in the oven for 5 minutes then, Matt.
Jaywin, they said there were some that were crisp, some that were under. The mango flavour was quite good. Notice they didn't mention the matcha flavour. I just want to point that out. Matt was not happy with the presentation, the way it was presented.
A lot of them were cracked.
But he liked the fact that he tries different things.
Yeah.
With caramel, they said that the pistachio flavour was really good and so was the cherry. But you've got to remember, because of the cherries, that part of the biscuit was then softer than the rest of the biscuit.
Yeah.
Blessings were short and well balanced, and then they moved on because that was another quick change. Hoders, they said they looked amazing but were a little underbaked. The saffron was a bit too strong for Maggie, but Matt really liked it, and Hoder even agreed when they said about slightly underbaked, and she goes, "No, I agree with you. They're under." At this point, we cut to Ella outside, and Ella became a 3-year-old because they cut to Ella, who just said, "They like my poos. I feel great about that."
Look, you know, it really is when a child is being potty trained. You know, a lot of these days I'm seeing parents with different ways to encourage their children to use the toilet, move from nappies to the toilet. And I'm thinking, Ella, you've got the perfect thing, you know, like give a poo for a poo. Like make a little biscuit poo for when your kid poos.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did feel really sorry because they asked Tom, and you could see that Tom was really disappointed.
Yeah.
And his concept sounded brilliant. Then we cut to, as Claire Hooper referred to it as, the day that every little girl looks forward to as much as her wedding day.
The biscuit technical.
The technical. Now, Matt's key word in this was a sandwich, not a doorstop. And doorstop came up a few times.
Yeah.
Now, I understand why doorstop came up. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
So, they were off to do hot yoga when they went off to, and it was Alpha Horace.
Oh, that's not the person leading the hot yoga. That was the biscuit.
Either or at this point in time. Alpha Horace. So,
Does sound like a hot yoga instructor.
was that when Nurman lost it? I've never seen anyone more excited with the announcement of a technical because he knew it.
Yeah.
By the way, bakers don't know the technical. Drink. Definitely drink off that one because you see, if you cut to after Nurman, and we'll come back to Nurman at the moment, was very excited.
Ashley had no idea.
No, they cut to Aaron, and Aaron was pondering the universe. So Nurman's jumping up and then going, oh my god, cut to Aaron, and Aaron is looking. And he looked off to the side like he was pondering. Now, the look is the look that Days of Our Lives actors used to talk about when they go to an ad break. Mm-hmm. And there's a look they used to give, and they were like, there's a look you have to give. And the look you have to give is, did I leave the iron on? Mm. I think I left the iron on. No, I didn't leave the iron on. And you stop in the middle, then you look slightly up, then you look off into the middle distance and nod your head. And that's what Aaron did. So Aaron, Days of Our Lives are calling you.
He really is the ridge of the tent shed. Oh my gosh. Just cut that bit out. No one needs to hear me talking. Like,
Stays.
I've gone
also, Ridge is bold and the beautiful.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, who the fuck knows?
Me.
Of course you do. The only shitty soap I got into was Passions for a while because it was just on a convenient time.
Was that for Timmy?
Of course it was for Timmy. You know, I was with Spike and Giles. You know, so quick, Timmy stuck down the well. Anyway.
It's a sandwich biscuit with dulce de leche inside it and then rolled in coconut. You had 8 biscuits and you had 2 hours.
This is really cool. It's a bake that I'm not familiar with, and I like the components that went into it, and I like Matt's zhuzhing it up with a bit of dulce.
Yeah, now Matt's comment was that it's usually got jam inside it. He went non-traditional with the dulce de leche. Now, I'm always a fan. You know, I'm a bandit for dulce de leche.
Just?
And I like the way that he said it's a shortbread, so it needs to be pale. And also pointed out that he added a bit of lemon for a bit of a zing. And Maggie's like, well, you know I'll like it. Now... At that point, we cut to a long shot of the shed.
We do.
And over the top of the view of the shed, and then over the top of a basket of oranges for some reason, all we hear is a voice singing. And that's Amore, but not how you know it.
No.
Alfajores. Cut to the only person that could possibly have been.
Hayden.
Yep.
Yep. Just in fine musical form. And look, I'm so glad that he's continuing that.
I mean, he spent most of the episode singing. It got to the point, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it in the showstopper. We'll get to it. But I'm starting to wonder if other bakers weren't looking around and going,
Is he?
1, is there a problem? 2, can we make requests?
3, did he mean to audition for The Voice?
Do you think this is The Voice? Matt and Maggie aren't turning their chairs. They're not turning their chairs.
Mel is, but that's just because she's found an office chair and is doing wheelies up and down the
So
shed.
we cut to Nurman, who talks about his Argentinian friend who taught him how to make these biscuits, so he actually knew what he was doing.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Whereas Ash had to announce loudly that she had to rely completely on the recipe to get her through, and I'm like, well, that's a risk. So last week we talked about Smeg, and Smeg was everywhere.
Smeg was everywhere in
this week.
Yeah.
It's all about the White Wings, folks.
Okay.
I don't know if White Wings could have got more of a close-up if they tried. I mean, we had corn flour early on, but then it was all the White Wings flour. It was just everywhere you looked, there was White Wings.
Well, you know, it's not uncommon. In Canadian, all we get is Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm cool with that.
Oh, it's not a criticism. It's just it's a comment. It's merely a passing comment on society. I do this from time to time. It's the foibles.
Look, if White Wings wants to bring me one of my favourite TV shows, probably my favourite TV show on television, I fucking love them.
Also, if they want to give you a bunch of, like, flour and stuff to go
what would I do with it? I'll just give it to the bakers to bake me stuff.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, last week we were after a Smeg fridge, so...
Oh, okay, yeah, we may as well get some flour too.
And some Lurpak. We can put the Lurpak into the fridge.
I think we have to talk to Blessing about that.
Yeah, we'll have to...
Someone's been on a butter raid.
We'll come to that in a minute. So... I have to give Aaron massive props this week.
Yeah.
And the main reason is for his following sentence. Dolce de leche. It's what salted caramel wishes it was.
Oh, yeah.
Completely.
Oh, my God. Salted caramel is so overrated. Like, anyone that offers me, like, salted caramel this, salted caramel that, I'm like, fuck off. Just give me normal caramel. In fact, fuck the salt right off and fuck the caramel right off and just give me, like toffee. Like, toffee is underrated.
Or
not toffee.
What Jaywin...
Crispy toffee.
Or what Jaywin was talking about. So when they cut to Jaywin, they said to Jaywin, have you ever made dolce de leche? He goes, well, not like this. And like, how did you do it? And everybody at home knew what Jaywin was about to say.
Get a tin.
Because we all did the same thing. A tin of top and fill. He didn't say top and fill. He said, well, condensed milk. It's actually...
Yeah.
Tin of condensed milk and a boiling pan.
Yep. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
You have dolce de leche.
Yep. It does work with top and fill as well, though. It just makes it more caramelly.
Do you reckon that, like, pressure cookers and shit need to have a dolce de leche tin setting? Yeah.
No, because, I mean, you can make dolce de leche without it being in the tin in that one. You can just put it in the pressure cooker and crank it.
True.
So, it's when they're making the caramel, and this is what I wanted to... The main thing we've got to talk about in the technical is this bit. So... While they're doing it and they're working out how they make the caramel, Hoda and Hayden turn around and they're like, Hayden's like, what level's yours? And Hoda's like, what level's yours? And they turn around and they're comparing. Now, We sort of mentioned it last week, but I do want to bring it up this week. Bake Off is usually very clear in that you can go and help everybody else and give advice and all those sorts of things, and that's something they love seeing. But the technical bake is the one that's supposed to be done solo because it's about testing your technical ability, skills, and knowledge. And it's not one where you're supposed to get advice or assistance from other bakers. So it's the only time I get a bit funny about seeing bakers sort of seeking advice from other bakers because it's supposed to be the bit that tests their knowledge and their ability. And like Mel said it at the start, it's an incomplete recipe that's designed to test your knowledge and ability of baking techniques.
Yes.
That's what it's there for.
Look, I think it's a double.
And I don't like being a killjoy.
No, look, I think it's something we need to discuss because it's a bit of the evolution of Bake Off. You know, in the olden days, God forbid if you talked to each other through a technical about the technical, you're in deep shit. The technical was usually pretty quiet and everyone focusing on what they did. Over the years, and I think, you know, we've also had a bit of a break in Australia, it's gotten a bit softer in terms of the rules around that and the taboo-ness of talking about it. And I think that when I say the double-edged, I'm like, okay, so the spirit of Bake Off is about sharing and learning and all that kind of stuff. And I am here for it, particularly when you're in a bake that you have no fucking idea what it looks like. And some people may have trouble visualizing what a bake might look like, you know, that they haven't seen before. But so then it comes down to the discretion of the bakers in the tent as to how much support they give each other at that time.
Agreed. But
Yeah.
what I will say is that this wasn't about what the bake looked like. It wasn't even about the construction of the biscuit or anything like that. It was about making dulce de leche, right? It's about making a caramel. So I think it's a bit different from if you don't know what the biscuit looks like and there's a construction element and blah, 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 blah. Whereas with dulce de leche, it was just about thickness of dulce de leche. And that's something that should be something that you understand.
Yeah, but I know, and I get what you're saying. Like, I don't think there's a right or a wrong as it is, and I can accept what's going on. I can see why some people might be annoyed that we don't have the old, you know, shut up during the technical and don't talk to each other and blah, blah, blah. But how are you going to enforce that? Like, are you going to have the nasty host come out? Much like Led Tasso, are we going to get Bell Muttle and Hair Klooper?
I'm here for Bell Muddle.
She comes in, and she goes, "You there, stop talking. I'm Bell Muddle, and I'm going to get you."
Let's move out of that now and talk about something that's a little bit, I was going to say a little bit more fun, but it's not really, because Blessing's caramel.
What's not fun about Bell Muttle? Like, she sounds like she'd be the coolest dame
She'd be the belle of the ball. Anyway.
the belle of the ball.
There you go. So, Blessing burnt hers. And I love that Claire came over and tried to not say it was burnt. This is very, and she's like, it's burnt. She's like,
And then there was another look to camera.
Yeah, I don't know a lot, but I was going to say that it smells a bit burnt, but I didn't really want to say it because maybe it's not burnt. And I do love then possibly my favourite line in this episode and one of my favourite lines I've ever heard Claire Hooper utter, which was where she held up the pan, looked at Blessing and went, "Yeah, but you know what? Maggie Beer would turn that into an absolute money tree."
Oh, fucking wouldn't she? It would be the latest in her product line.
Quince paste and burnt caramel.
Yeah, it would probably pair well with a creme fraiche, like, figgy biscuit of some kind.
Oh, she'd come up with something that would be amazing. Now, I want to bring up the other thing I thought that was a bit interesting of a choice in terms of production. There was a random dramatic music sting.
Yes,
Ashley and Nurman would just breathe. And the sting was something you'd hear on MasterChef before somebody ruined their their cook and had to go home.
Look, I'm noticing there's been a switch up in the music and I'm liking it. I like that, you know, we can move from bloody guitar to marimba. I think I heard marimba tonight. Or is it clavicle? No, clavicle is your bone. You know
Someone was playing the clavicle.
the clavicle. No.
Nurman, let us know what it sounds like to play a clavicle as the GP there.
Sounds like someone in Melbourne is currently trying to construct a clavicle. Anyway, we're not going to go there because that's really terrible. No, you know, the things. The xylophone. There's something...
You're thinking clavinet.
Clavinet! That's the thing! That is it! You know, like the ding, da ding, da ding, da ding. Whether you see the fancy people who hold multiple, like, dongers in each... Oh my god, no! No, Kristie, no, oh, fuck it. You know, the dongers. The sticks with the hard balls on the end. Dig up, Kristie.
So some of Nav's stuck together, but the bigger point about Nav sticking together was he forgot the baking powder and the salt. And so Nav's there, and they're like, and it was really good because Nav is the first person we've seen this series that's self-edited. Something Kristie hasn't done tonight. Nav is the first person I've seen that's self-edited inside the shed because Nav goes, oh, they haven't, oh, I think I forgot the bacon. And he stopped and just moved on. And it was only after the fact...
Kind of like you're doing right
and
now.
it was only after the fact that he admitted that he left out baking powder and salt out of the fucking biscuit. Which is only a minor part of it.
Look. It's optional.
It's optional. I mean, look, some people had a really interesting approach to construction. Nav left out baking powder. Nav left out salt. Hayden decided to make his dulce de leche so chumpy you could cut it.
It really did look like
I love that Hayden decided that he was, I'm just going to cut it into rounds. This looks great. What could be wrong?
leaning into it. And I love it. You know, obviously, you know, that's the kind of skill you want in a stay-at-home dad as well. You know, it's kind of like, oh, okay, the kids have woken up in a terrible mood. They just want to stay in their pajamas all day. All right, we're not going to the zoo today. We're just going to hang out in our pajamas and cut up dulce de leche into lettuce strips. We're making dulce jerky.
Right, everyone got their caramel jerky? I really hope you've all got your caramel jerky.
Put that in your scroggin bag.
So, everyone else did the right thing and piped. Hayden was... But what I loved about Hayden too was the way that Hayden talked about the piping nozzle and the dulce de leche. It was almost like it was everyone else that was wrong.
I know.
He's like, they've given us this nozzle. This nozzle's not going to fit this dulce de leche. I'm going to cut it into rounds. So, and I think Hoda sums it up. It might even sum this podcast up beautifully when she said that the bake moved from soothing to hot mess.
Look, I think I entered this whole podcast tonight like at least a temperate mess, and I've eventually just warmed myself up to the point where it's looking like Hayden's flask from Bake One.
You know who else warmed something up in there?
Who?
Carmel. You know what she did?
What'd she do?
She toasted coconut, and I've never seen anyone prouder to have toasted some coconut.
The look she was giving to camera, like, look at me.
She turns around, she goes, "I've got my toasted coconut." And like everyone else is looking like you don't have to toast it.
Look, she is just. I think she's channeling the person who first discovered toasted coconut. Not discovered, but accidentally burnt the coconut. And you know what? This tastes good. I'm going to put it on this marshmallow with a bit of chocolate. So it's going to taste delicious.
So is that what Hayden was trying with his jerky dulce de leche?
Oh, shit, yeah. You know.
Hayden, what you need to do is you need to take the extra salt that wasn't in Nav's bake and you need to just sprinkle it over the top for the extra flavour on the jerky. So the judging, Jaywin, they said the dulce de leche was too dark, but the lemon flavour came through. Hoda, they said good chocolate. The biscuit was a bit high though. Lots of dulce de leche. Blessing, the dulce de leche was too soft, but the lemon again was quite good. Ella's were very uniform and neat, and the biscuit was really good. And Matt Moran used the phrase "close to perfect." Carmel, they pointed out, a bit of creative license here. Apparently, they can do whatever they want with the toasted coconut. Biscuit was awesome, and the dulce was very light in colour. Then we got to Tom, and unfortunately Maggie goes, yes, here are the doorstops. Now, what she means by doorstops is...
Yeah, please explain this, because I didn't fucking get it. Because, like, a doorstop to me...
So they were talking about...
is like a... Oh, they're the round
heights.
things.
So we're talking about heights. So Matt's words were in the pre... It was
thinking...
sandwich, not doorstop.
See, I was thinking in my head, like, a wedge. So, not the doorstop, but the door wedge.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the round thing, like the round rubber thing on the bottom of the door that stops it from slamming.
Yes.
Okay.
So the
Now
difference
I
is
get
you
it.
said, sandwich, not doorstop, because everyone else's were smaller and like they were more compacted down, whereas Tom's were very high. And that's why they kept on saying doorstop. That was what they were saying.
Okay. Alrighty. Now I get it.
I mean, also I felt bad for poor Tom because it doesn't make you feel good when you're hearing people describing what you've baked as a doorstop.
I know, and it probably still tasted pretty good. Like if he served those up at home.
Well, they said it ate really well.
Yeah.
It ate well, but it just didn't look the part at all, and it wasn't well presented.
Oh no, you've given him a too big a biscuit. What will I do?
Navs looked thrown together at the last minute, and there's a reason for that.
They were.
Yep. Hayden, the only comment was, now this is what happens when they've taken the dolce de leche too far. Or not far enough.
See, I want to know, at what point do you get to a dolce de leche with that? As opposed to where Blessing got her first batch of dolce de leche, which went to the gods because it was burnt to ash. So, it's a big feat. And I think only Hayden's mad scientist bench could achieve it.
Maggie did say that it was very bitter. She goes, I like bitter, but this is beyond. Nurman, they said they looked great and the flavour was really good. Aaron, they said they were very crumbly on the biscuit. But the chocolate was a little bit too thick. But outside of that, the biscuit was really good. And Ashley, they said it was very cooked very well, uniform, and probably the best dolce de leche.
Nice.
So, in the judging, Nav was 11th.
Yeah.
Tom was 10th. Hayden was 9th. Jaywin was 8th. Aaron was 7th. Blessing was 6th. Hoda was 5th. In 4th place, we had Nurman. Carmel was 3rd with her toasted coconut. 2nd was Ashley. And 1st was, once again, Ella.
Nice.
Really good bake from a few people there. As I said, I thought Ella and Ashley and Carmel did really well.
And like, to be frank, like I'm with Carmel. I like some toasted coconut. Like, I'm not joking when I said, channeling that person who toasted the coconut and put it on marshmallow with a bit of chocolate. Like, that's just fucking delicious, isn't it?
So, the showstopper. Now,
Yep.
we needed to have a normal showstopper, and of course, what we got was the biscuit's natural enemy, gravity. Now, the hanging biscuit chandelier. I loved the way that they turned around to the judges and went, so judges, any advice from all of the times that you've made your biscuit chandeliers?
Look, it's Maggie. It's Matt. I'm assuming after hearing, Matt's, search for truffle to provide to Mel, he would do that.
I mean, we talked about the idea of, previously we talked about the idea that this is all now being built for Maggie's house.
Absolutely. Like, I could see Matt, right, moving into a new house. Now, you know how some people are kind of like, we need to see how big a lounge would fit this space. So they get out newspaper and put it down and work out and then take those measurements. I could just see Matt going, you know what, I was going to construct it out of biscuits. What kind of chandelier will go well in my entry hall? I was going to construct it out of biscuits.
He could quite easily do that. He'd be quite good at it.
Oh, fuck yeah, he would.
Now, Maggie wanted wow and Matt wanted bling. I'm assuming that's just in everyday life. That's their mantras.
Yeah.
4 hours. So you had 4 hours to do this. Now, Blessing then decided to help out Lurpak as a sponsor by finding every single stick of butter that she could under her bench.
It honestly looked like the night before she'd gone on a butter hoard raid. Like, she just popped down to Stately Beer Man.
And just gone into the butter hoard.
Maybe, borrowed the Maggie copter and...
I hope someone borrowed the Maggie copter.
Yeah, and just... Or maybe she wanted to go stealth, so she, Nurman helped her with, some balloon work. Because that's got no noise. You could sneak over the verjuice fields and the river and land.
Imagine.
She could then rappel down into...
Imagine the holiday packages you could sell ballooning over Stately Beer Manor.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
It's the dream.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd have to pay a butter tax to pass over.
That's easy. Just dropping Lurpak.
Yeah, but then I think you'd probably come out with like a free bottle of verjuice, at least.
Who doesn't want a free bottle of verjuice? So, Jaywin. Now Jaywin...
Dipped in gold and presented at the Vergies.
Poor Jaywin. Yeah, he had a very weird episode. He wasn't featured a lot at all.
No.
But when he was featured, there were some very unusual things. So they cut to Jaywin, who said, I'm excited by the engineering. Then he paused and he said, I don't have a background in engineering. And it just seemed very random. It just seemed like I'm excited by the engineering, and then he thought about it like he wasn't allowed to be excited by the engineering because he didn't have a degree.
Look, after the shit that's come out of my mouth tonight, I'm not going to comment on someone who's got, random stuff coming out of their mouth.
Now, Nav was making a floral ombre spiral. Now, this was an ode to his daughters, and it was lime and mint biscuits with buttercream flowers, and what he did was he changed the hue all the way from a lighter pink at the bottom all the way up to a really dark at the top. Now, this was a bake that when they get to the judging, Matt and Maggie both questioned if it was glamorous enough, if it was bright enough for a showstopper. This is a rare occasion. I completely disagree with Matt Moran. I think it was stunning.
Look, I think it was beautiful, and I think the only thing that might have elevated it, so if we look at Hoda's, for example, I know we're cutting ahead to the final results, but if we look at Hoda's with what's coming on her dangly bits, is she had the main biscuits, but then also little tiny ones just to take up that space. So perhaps if I don't know if there was, he'd popped in, I don't know, smaller rosette style biscuits or something as a counterpoint to it. But I too agree with you, and I thought it was beautiful.
If he'd done those smaller biscuits, he also could have worked out to cook them at different times. We'll come to that in a minute. Hayden.
Oh, poor Hayden.
We'll come to that in a minute, Hayden.
Leave my alumni alone.
Because before we get to that about Hayden, we do need to get to the fact they then cut back to Hayden, who was once again singing. This time, he was singing Chocolate Salty Balls. Now, two things. One, it's 2 or 3 egg whites, not 3 or 4 egg whites. Sorry about that, Hayden. You got your lyrics wrong. Secondly, and far more importantly about Chocolate Salty Balls, if you watch Binging with Babish, you will know that the one thing that is not in the recipe for Chocolate Salty Balls is salt. There is no salt in Chocolate Salty Balls.
Yeah, but if you listen to the lyrics, like I did, okay, so one of the most beautiful memories I have...
It's the words he doesn't sing?
No. This is going to sound so weird, right?
Oh,
so one of the most beautiful memories I have from my late teens, early 20s was the night after I cooked a beautiful dinner for my friend Claire and Linda and a few others. And I've come out in the morning and Claire and Linda had decided to tidy up and clean up. And they had my South Park CD on and were singing Chocolate Salty Balls as they were cleaning. Now, the reason why that's beautiful and poignant is that's the last time I saw Claire before she went hiking and missing. Yep. So, when I hear that song in Bake Off, other people are going, oh, God, it's a song about balls. And I'm having these beautiful memories come through. So.
And I'm just thinking that the recipe's wrong.
Exactly.
They're just chocolate balls. And they're terrible, by the way. Go watch Binging with Babish after you finish this episode. Go watch it on YouTube and look up Chocolate Salty Balls because he then makes a version that does work. Really good. Tom.
Yes.
So Tom's was called Memories of Home. Now, he said that there's a traditional version of a jam drop as well, which is part of his sort of heritage he was talking about as well. Unfortunately, if you're a Bake Off fan in Australia, all you're thinking of is that Tom is about to make the most cursed Australian bake of all time.
Yeah.
Because the last time jam drops appeared, they were technical, and every baker screwed them up.
Yep, they all fucked them.
Every single baker. I still rib certain bakers to this day
about jam drops,
about not being able to make
as
jam
you
drops.
should.
Hi Robert, how you doing?
As everyone should.
Hey Robert, how you going, man? Just have to get that shout out there. Now Tom went with raspberry jam, burnt fig jam, and a chocolate gingerbread drop at the bottom. I loved Hoda's view on it, which is I'm going to make a grand concoction that's edible. And
I think that's just her mantra for life. We're talking about everyone's kind of mantras, and I think that's Oda's,
So, vanilla, orange zest, and clove
Yum.
with fondant and royal icing. Then we got the caramel, who apparently loves Christmas. So we know she loves bunnies and Christmas.
But this did my head in, because
Yep.
I'm like, why did she do an Easter thing? She
Surely.
could have put more fucking rabbits in it. Like, come on, Carmel. Christmas is great, but Easter does not get enough, stuff in the bake-off sheet.
Easter can get the rabbits work.
I know you could put so many floral flavours through it. You could put some carrot flavour through it because, we know you're good with carrot flavours.
Now, business arising from the last podcast, because I put a call out because I was like, I know Coco,
Yes.
but I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
The answer, by the way, thank you, Carmel, is Ponchi.
Oh, Punchy.
So Ponchi and Coco. Coco is a girl and Ponchi is a boy.
And
there was
how
a follow-up.
many babies do they make?
And there was a follow-up photo of the two of them curled up on the lounge watching her bake on Bake Off, which was just beautiful.
Do you get rabbits to sex? Like, you'd have to. Particularly if you have a boy and a girl. Like,
Okay, Carmel,
follow up.
follow up. Every week we're going to ask you another rabbit question. This week it's, do you get rabbits de-sexed?
Because otherwise,
let us know.
you would have a zillion rabbits by the end of it. Like,
Now-
you would have Poncho Jr.
Poncho
you'd
Villa.
have- yeah.
How did you miss Poncho Villa? It was right in front of you.
I know.
Coco, I mean, there's a couple of places you can go. Wrestling fans would go Coco Beware, the Birdman.
I'd go Coco Nib after one of my favourite cafes in the Hunter Valley. It's just
Wonderful. Anyway, now what Carmel did make instead was a Christmas tree with fruitcake wreaths,
Coco
fondant
Jumbo
bows,
if it has a big baby.
Mr. President, fondant bows, and honey cinnamon biscuits. Now, my only question, and Maggie raised it when you said, "Are you playing safe?"
Coco Pops. Oh my god! There are so many Coco names.
Was what Carmel made a chandelier, or was it a Christmas tree? I think it was a Christmas tree.
Okay.
I think it was a Christmas tree that was hanging. I don't think it was a chandelier.
It was a dangling tree. But that said, okay, there was a bit of poetic license taken on the idea of a chandelier. Now, for me, chandelier is something that's supposed to look like you put it up and it would light up your room. Like, I'm thinking what Dwight would have stolen from Tiffany's. I'm thinking what the Queen would hang in Buckingham Palace. I'm thinking what a lot of people in the 80s thought was classy to put in your toilet, like your bathroom. Like, just those little chandeliers. It's kind of like, if you're going to poop, why not poop in class?
So scatological night.
Yeah, welcome to my world. So I do have to question, why wasn't, like Ella held to task? Like, you don't go, oh, that's the baby chandelier. No, it's bloody mobile. Like, you don't accidentally walk into Buckingham Palace and go, oh, nice mobile, your Madge. That's right, Kristie. I've just come here to see that. Oh, your Majesty, it's been a while. Yes, look, a chandelier is a chandelier and a mobile is a mobile. Now, I know with my grandchildren, I have cut crystal mobiles for them, but they're definitely not chandeliers because they sing a song. So perhaps what Ella did make was a chandelier because it doesn't sing a song because there was no bell. So perhaps we do have a chandelier after all. Anyway,
Your Majesty,
clean out.
Your Majesty, don't
Yes.
you have more important things to be doing?
No, my husband's dead. My favourite son's, well, he's effed off the family, so what am I to do? No corgis about. Just got to mull about the Commonwealth, commenting on podcasts. That's what I do now. Anyway, I'm off. I've got my favourite true crime podcast to go to. Toodles!
By Your Madge. I can't believe Her Majesty's now just calling past on random episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Normally it's only the Virgies that Her Majesty appears on.
And look, I feel bad because even when I was growing up, Mum had, the tea set that you'd put aside for if the Queen visited, because apparently we lived in Victorian England when Queen Victoria would pop in.
Now,
And I don't have that. Like, what? I think that's why she doesn't stick around long.
no, she doesn't hang around long enough at all, does she?
No.
Now,
Goodness.
I'm going to apologise before the next bit, but if I've been singing this in my head all,
Of course you have.
all night, and
Okay.
it's got to come out.
All right.
Blessings raining with Cookie Africa. It's been stuck in my head all night after she came out and she called her thing Cookie Africa. And I'm like, it's a blessing. It's Cookie Africa. Come on. We've got to take the time to find the things we never had. Look, and the colours were as beautiful as Kilimanjaro rising like Olympus across the Serengeti. No, they were really, the design was really cool. It was choc mint and spice, and each of them had a individual royal icing decoration. It was stunning.
Oh, it was gorge. Gorge.
Let's get to Nurman.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Nurman...
Oh, my God.
Now, Nurman made Pocky. Now, look, I would have gone Yan Yan, personally, but that's because I'm a Yan Yan fiend. I love Pocky, but I really love Yan Yans. So, Yan Yans, for those who don't know, they're the slightly bigger sort of sticks in the with the dipping cup of chocolate.
Yeah.
Right, it's a chocolate hazelnut spread. I really love a Yan Yan, but a Pocky is a very close second. Now, what don't I like about Pocky? Comes in matcha.
God forbid if they
But-
release the fucking yuzu.
But-
oh, wait.
But you know what? I will come to the
There's
yuzu.
more.
We'll come to the yuzu in a minute. But you know what? I would have eaten this.
Yeah, you
It
would
was
have.
amazing.
Yeah, you would
Right?
have.
You talked before about a chandelier as something that looks like it might light up a room.
Yeah.
It looked like you could light up a room. It looked like a proper hanging chandelier with the 3 different tiers. The design, the concept,
Yeah.
the execution, it looked amazing.
Maggie, in her, like later on, she coined it. It was a work of art. Like the color scheme, the execution, the shape. It was,
I'm also here for everybody trying to explain to Maggie what Pocky was.
yes, but I'm also
And
here.
Maggie's answer of, I feel like I'm missing out on life.
But I love that this is going to end up in her dojo.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Can we mention, because we haven't really spoken about Claire and Mel a lot tonight,
No. There's been so much other stuff going on.
but Claire Hooper has not lost those dance moves.
Fuck no. And it was so good to see her crack them out again. You know, like she was, you know, Mel had to cut her off because they couldn't afford the royalties
Can't
for
afford the
Chandelier.
royalties, Chandelier.
No one can.
But the dance moves, whenever she gets into that impressionistic dance, oh
Yep.
wow, she just feels it.
It really is that, and you do this impression a lot in the pool, but John, what's his face?
John Clark.
John Clark doing Esther Williams, ladies and gentlemen. There's like this little wiggle that she does when she comes up to the camera. It was very
Esther Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Esther Williams. It's on the episode of Corporate Retreat of the Games. Anyway, one of the best episodes of television ever made. So we then cut back to Hayden. Now, Hayden talked about the idea that he was going to use biscuits as the foundation as well, and Matt Moran looked at him like, "What is wrong with you?" Yeah. Maggie asked him if it was too much, and rather than answer, Hayden just sort of looked down awkwardly and went, "We'll see," which is code for, of course it's too much, but I'm not going to say that. He was making 3 chocolate cream cheese discs that were the top, and then there were chocolate diamond biscuits, and then there were sugar panels. The sugar panels, might I add, the sugar panels look great.
They did. And look, you know, he's got the skills for the sugar work. I am interested to see if that particular movement when he was moving the black sugar work, well, it looked black, it's probably coming out green, will end up on any specific sites around the...
It was very, very graphic.
It was,
What Hayden
suggestive. It was suggestive.
What Hayden also managed to do, however, though, was burn the cookies. And when they cut to it, he did say that he learned that you can't cook 3 different sizes of cookies at the same time. They require different times, which I kind of thought was common sense. I mean, look, you're in there, and I understand where you can let these things go and you don't think about them. And I bet when Hayden watches it back, he looks at it and goes,
What was I thinking?
yeah, that makes perfect sense. What the hell were you thinking, dude? But it was just one of those moments that happens in there. Jaywin also burnt the top of his, but he referred to it as construction gingerbread. Now, not for eating. Now, the only reason I raise this is Matt last week was very clear that if it should be edible on a bake, it should be able to be eaten. This week, they didn't so much care about that.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. It's a point. It's a point, but does it need to be consistent? But is it a point? It's a point.
It's a point. Anyway, high five is the note. Was what he called his.
Yes.
With Sublay bees. Honey and yuzu. Anyway, the honey and the yuzu, were in the bees and they were hanging off honeycomb glass. Mm-hmm. Then they cut to Nav, who was still piping flowers. And let me just say, Nav's piping, like, it was a bit messy on his hands, but the piping on the biscuits was outstanding.
I thought it was quite lovely. Look, you know, did it need the ombre? I actually don't think it did need the ombre. I think perhaps it just needed maybe an extra biscuit in like a line going up, and I think he would have had it. But, you know, there should still be kudos for thinking, I'm going to add an ombre to this. Like, fuck.
Now,
Yes.
Aaron, with his, said, look, everyone else is going structural, but that's, and again, he said, not my vibe. He then said that basically he was going to go wherever things took him. And the answer was this flower power one with the Swedish gingerbread, orange candy windows, and then also royal icing.
Look, when he was constructing the base, what is the base? That's the top of
the
the
anchor,
chandelier.
yeah,
The anchor, right, for his chandelier. I got serious fucking Blair Witch vibes. And then he's talking about Swedish gingerbread, and I'm going, holy shit, he's going to go full midsummer. It's just going to, this flower power, midsummer kind of, let's lure people to their deaths kind of vibe. But
I did love the fact that he then said, it's the bit that makes the challenge a challenge is the part that I'm being challenged by. Couldn't have said it better myself, Aaron. Now, Ella's was Twinkle Twinkle Gingerbread. It was an owl with ganache and then a lemon buttercream and a moon twirl with the bell.
Yes.
Now, we have a very good friend, Joe. Madam Joe.
MasterChef.
Joe Kendry, MasterChef fame, who was done in by 12. And since then, there's been a lot of people that will listen to this and have watched MasterChef with us who fear or even in some cases hate the twill. I wonder if Ella is now in that group.
I think we need to link her to the support group, the Tweel support group.
Yeah, we'll get her into the Facebook page.
Because I really feel like that cost her a 7-star baker.
Yeah, I think if she doesn't, I mean, look, I absolutely love Nurman's bake, but I think that if she doesn't have that was the only flaw.
I was rooting for Nurman, and I'm sorry if my, thoughts went back in time and cursed your moon, your Tweel moon.
Hoda was very clever in terms of she built any mishaps into the time for the construction.
Yeah.
So she had it built in. So if there was a problem, and she said, look, I've built time in because I know there's going to be something go wrong.
Yeah.
Very clever.
And the result. Are we talking about results yet?
Almost.
Really?
Almost. Still got a bit more to go.
Okay. I'll just be excited.
Then we cut to... I mean, you're forgetting a couple of events, but one of the most paramount moments inside the episode.
Yeah.
Hayden's got a drill.
Oh my god! So he's brought in a drill to hole up his biscuits, right? So he's holing his biscuits with a drill. Now this makes me think, what other fucking equipment has he brought into the shed?
Blowtorch.
And is this why everything just fucking goes through random transformations? Like, did he accidentally have a Bunsen burner going? I don't know many. Like,
I hope there's a blowtorch. I hope there's a welding kit.
Yeah, like
I want welding in Bread Week.
Absolutely. I want to come back next week and see a full distilling moment going on. I want there to be copper coils.
Look,
I want there to be.
Well, we know what the most important thing for next week.
Clamps and rods and fucking.
We know what the most. We know what the most important part of Bread Week is.
What?
The sentient sourdough starter.
Oh fuck me!
We're down after the elimination. Obviously,
Yeah.
after the elimination tonight, we've got 10 bakers left.
Yeah.
And 11 things are going to walk in. 10 bakers and 1 sentient starter.
And it's going to go there.
It's going to stand at Hayden's bench.
And the sentience and Hayden's going to go try to grab some of the sentient starter to make his bread. And it's going to go, I don't think so, Hayden. And it's like going to be the start to 2001. 2001. It's going to be 2022. And this is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. The past couple of years, we always joke about things like, oh, it's going to be zombies, it's going to be that. No, it's going to be sentient sourdough starters because
everyone's been baking through the pandemic.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck have you done?
I love the idea that we won't be done in by COVID and we won't be done in by other things. We'll be done in by sentient sourdough. Anyway,
Mommy, the fridge is open.
Ashley made a very sort of hippie vibe
I loved
chandelier, which is stunning.
When-
so there were
when
malt vanilla biscuits in pink, orange, and yellow chocolate. And again, Maggie loves a malt biscuit.
Yeah, when I saw her design, that's when I first heard chandelier, that's what I thought of, is that old-fashioned, like mother of pearl drops, like shells, that kind of vibe. And I loved it. Yeah.
So we cut back to Carmel, who was trying to now not only talk up the virtues of Christmas, but sell it to the rest of the
I think those who are into Christmas are fucking on board, Carmel, and even those who aren't really into Christmas might... Like, I know I've got some Muslim friends who still do a bit of Christmas stuff, because why the fuck not?
But what I really appreciate was when she's trying to sell, and Aaron's being really nice. He looks at her and goes, look, I'm not the biggest Christmas fan in the world, but I do like the other thing that links to it, school summer holidays.
Yeah, Aaron, I
Solidarity, brother. Solidarity forever.
And I'll just reiterate, I checked those alchemical symbols on your arm. I know where you're coming from.
Anyway, moving on. Tom was then trying to use biscuits to balance a ball. That's all that needs to be said, really.
Look, I think if NASA or Russia...
because look, what we got, realistically, what we were getting here, we weren't so much getting a ball with some jam drops around it as much as we were getting jam drop Sputnik.
It was very mid-century modern.
People were looking up and wondering what was going on. It was just circling the globe.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from, because, you know, he was talking about, you know, like that chandelier from childhood and those childhood memories. And, you know, when you would go to an older relative's house and there would be, like, a lot of 1950s era randomness, including chandeliers that were obviously not the type you'd see in Buckingham Palace.
But the thing is that it still fits with that idea of your 50s vibe that you're talking about there, because, you know, 50s and 60s, people were fearful of things like, you know, Sputnik. So he's realistically, what he should have called it was, he should have called it Red Scare Space Martian Panic. And again, what is it? Well, it's a jam drop Sputnik, and it's designed to terrify the Western world that the commies are taking over space. And he would have won.
Absolutely.
I think Tom's biggest problem was expressing what his designs actually were.
Yeah.
And even if that's not what he was going for, you pretend.
So, like, his first bake, right, if he just went, this is an interpretation of 2020. Like, it's going to start out one way, our expectations, and end up just a pile of unrecognisable...
What I would have said...
Disappointment. Slices of disappointment, yeah?
So I would have called the first bake, contract killing on a new painted wall. Because it was white with just the flecks of the pink.
Yeah.
So it's contract killing on a new painted wall. That would have been the first bake. Obviously, the technical's locked in. And then with this one here, it's a jam drop Sputnik. And if you have three concepts that are that's solid, you win. Because someone tell me that's not jam drop Sputnik.
I'm not going to.
It's completely it.
Look, I'm just waiting for a little dog to wander in with a fishbowl over its head.
Poor Leica. Anyway, Aaron's design, as he said, was inspired by his nan's kitchen. We all have a relative who had that burnt wallpaper, the flowers, the browns, the oranges. We had
But again, Aaron's execution of it was beautiful.
It was stunning. We got a little bit of ending chaos. Carmel went over and helped Ella again, so we did get some more assistance for those playing the drinking game. Yep. Drink. And we finished off once again, and I do need to find out, Nurman, is there a reason why you always end up on the floor? Every single time now. And Bakers, stop watching, and Hoda put her arms in the air, and a couple of them stepped away like that, and looked at each other's, and they cut to Nurman, who's sprawled.
I assume that the coal has run out from his steam-powered romper.
He's wearing a steam-powered romper.
It's a steampunk romper. It's just deflating. Like, the pistons need to be oiled, and he's just falling down. He's pushed it as far as the steampunk romper can go.
So I loved the fact that they had to go to the bakes. which is a nice change up. So bless him. They said the design was terrific, the spices were warming, and Maggie really liked the mint texture.
Yeah.
Matt goes, I like them both. Matt was ultra positive in this episode. Like, he was seriously ultra positive.
And he was pulling out the puns. Oh, I forgot to mention them before, but he was punning away tonight.
Now, Hoda's had both wild and bling. Good orange biscuit. They said they could have had a bit more crisp in there, and there was a clear difference between the just orange and the other one. Jaywin, they said it looked great, and the biscuit melted in the mouth. I felt really disappointed. I said Jaywin did a really nice job, and again got like almost no coverage.
I know, like he even got honeycomb shape in his in the glass.
In the glass, you could see it. They didn't really talk about it that much, but the honeycomb shape in the glass was pretty. Ashley, they said, looked great, really great colours. So good that Maggie giggled when she had the malt flavour.
Yeah, nice work.
Matt did say the biscuit, though, was a little bit soft in the middle. Tom, now, they noticed the biscuits were very rough in spots. Matt was also not particularly sure it was the best use of 4 hours. And I think that's the other thing that sort of hurt Tom a little bit was that what it was, and for the time, I think it needed to possibly be a little bit more grand. Whereas with Hayden, there were, again, the same number of big mistakes.
Yeah.
But it looked like Hayden had spent time on it, and the green ones in particular, I think, made it look more like...
Like, because he'd done the sugar work with it.
Yeah,
Like,
the sugar work is probably what saved Hayden. If Hayden hadn't done sugar work, I think he goes home. Yeah. Really close between the two of them, though.
Yeah.
And again, Jan dropped Sputnik. I would have pivoted and said I love the space race too. Ash isn't the only one who loves space. I love Sputnik.
I'm just more of a Russian fan.
Yeah, I like the Russian ones. I think they should have won the space race.
Less Pink Floyd, more Russia.
Yeah. Nurman. They said the aesthetic was absolutely fantastic. It gave good mouthfeel. It's the first time Maggie has busted out good mouthfeel this series.
Yeah.
Short biscuit, great flavours. And then Nurman burst into tears with absolute happiness. And it was so lovely to see. Aww. And Ella went over and gave me a big hug.
Oh, look, in that moment, you could just see the kind of fruition of like his skill and dedication to bringing this concept to life, and then getting that reinforcement from, you know, who else but Maggie B. Like, that's pretty effing good.
Exactly. Hayden, they said it looked good. Some of them were burnt. The design element was a really well done thing, but as Matt pointed out, it doesn't eat well.
Yeah, and look, I think a bit of the construction was, like, if you look at Hoda, for example, her refined. Like, her construction was refined. Same with Aaron's, you know, just very clear and clever. Hayden's, like, if you look at the top, I know he busted out the power drill, but it did look a bit...
Yeah.
How's your mother?
Yeah, exactly.
What does that term even mean? Anyway.
Caramel. They said it looked beautiful. The fruitcake biscuit, unfortunately, was soft. But the flavour was excellent. But then Maggie turned around and said, I think that design is actually a little bit too safe. I think you should have done something a bit more grand. Nav, they said, looked beautiful. That was where they questioned the extravagance. In that case, shut up, Matt, you're wrong. The biscuit was very crisp. The flavours were excellent. Ella. They said it was very beautiful with a clear story, but the fortune cookie moon did not work. Basically, the twill hadn't dried enough, and as a result, it absorbed all of the moisture.
Matt looked offended that the twill hadn't been...
I mean, to be fair, here's my point with that.
Yeah.
Why did Ella put it on?
Because it obviously was sticking together, and then it was the moisture and humidity in the air that just started to degrade it.
I think you probably could have worked out it wasn't going to necessarily work by the time you put it up there. And I probably would have taken it off.
But how would you know if the owl was out at night? Like, yes, there are stars, but really, you can have, like maybe it's flying through a sticker kind of, like it's flying through a preschool full of gold stars. How do you know if it's flying through night? You've got to have a moon.
This is how we know that it's late on the Thursday night after Bake Off.
Sorry, everyone.
Is that Kristie's at the point where she's arguing the reality of the flying owl. Anyway, Aaron, what we do need, by the way, out of that is we do need a GIF of from this judging of when Maggie decided to do the flying thing with the bees.
Yes.
Because Maggie was flapping.
Oh,
it was
that's
so
cute.
gorgeous. So Aaron, Maggie loved the design. They loved the biscuit. But What they didn't mention at any point in time, and this is something we need to speak about quickly, is they didn't mention the cayenne pepper.
No.
Which suddenly got hot. And this speaks to a bigger issue. And I don't know how many of you at home noticed it, but I noticed it. How many times did you actually see anything baked in the showstopper? Nav put his biscuits in the oven. You saw Hayden... you never seen him take the burnt ones out. The burnt ones are already out. The only one I can remember, and I'm probably wrong on this, someone else will call me out on it, the only baking I can remember happening in the showstopper that they showed was Nurman putting his biscuits in.
Yeah, you're right.
And Ella taking the owl out. That was it. That was the grand total of it.
How much baking do you need to see? Like, do you need to see every biscuit put in?
No, but I would expect in a baking show that you'd see a little bit more of it.
But, and I guess the construction... Like, we didn't get that story of construction. But again, we are working with an hour-long format that, maybe gives 2 minutes to each baker.
I understand that part of it, but I'm merely pointing out that in a baking show, you possibly expect to see a little bit more. Not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I love the episode. But I'm just saying that I noticed it.
But look, not every TV show lives up to its name. For example, Escape to the Chateau. Like, Angel and Dick did not have to escape England. They left of their own volition. It's not like they were being hunted out
And
by a Cromwellian force.
and I mean, look, I think you're right there too. I mean, look, again, MasterChef. There's no one master anyway.
There's not even a chef.
This one was a genuinely close episode, actually. I think that, again, the time on the showstopper is probably the thing that does... That mixed with the sugar work is probably the thing that does Tom in. So Nurman is the star baker, and have you ever seen a happier star baker? Like, he's flapping at the end where he's jumping up and down. I loved. I felt really bad for poor Tom, because you could see that he had the ideas, but just... It was just two episodes in a row where things just didn't quite come off. It was nearly. He was so close.
Look, I think Matt clearly gave the perspective away of what they based their decision on, and that is we haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
And that's 2 weeks worth. Like, Hayden had some good bakes last week.
Yeah, and I think the thing was, and we said this last week when we talked about with the elimination for the first one, obviously when we were talking about what happened with Lydia, and we said it's possibly to do with them looking around and going, we know what Lydia can do, and we know that that's what she's going to do really well, but is that going to develop over the course of the show?
Yeah, and I think that's where the difference is between Hayden and Tom there. Look,
I suspect Hayden's, as I said, I think he's going to have... not obviously the sentient thing we talked about, but I think he's probably going to be good at bread. He's a scientist. I feel like he'll be good at bread.
Yeah, and, it's 2 years into COVID. And he's a stay-at-home dad. Of course he's fucking baking bread. That's his jam now. Like
No, Tom had the jam.
Tom had the jam. No.
And on that note, we're going to leave it here for this episode. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback, by the way, on both the episode number 1 and on our fantastic interview with Lydia. If you haven't heard either of those, please go back and listen to them. They're really good. Also, go back and listen to our chat with Mel and Claire, which was absolutely wonderful and delightful.
Dream come true. I can die happy now.
And as I sort of teased before, maybe, just maybe, we might have something, before the next episode involving a certain, maybe... Tom. Anyway, until next time, I am still Chris.
And I am still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Shenanigans!